Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome to Final Fantasy XIV for some reason. Let's move away from this spirited operatic tune and get to a data center. So I've always been interested in MMOs. Scratch that. I've been interested in MMOs for a long time. I haven't always been interested in MMOs. I remember back in the day, I had attempted to play a couple different MMOs. I attempted Star Wars Galaxies when that was new, and it was a terrible experience. I'm not going to blame the game on this one, even though the game could be to blame because of how odd it was. I would blame my machine, my connection, like, it barely ran. I wanted to play it, but the act of playing it did not function. So it didn't work out. I never got into EverQuest. I'd actually never tried EverQuest 1, for that matter. World of Warcraft was the what do you call the starter drug that gets you into the harder drugs, except World of Warcraft is both the starter drug and the harder drug. It's both the ticket in as well as, it's both the marijuana and the cocaine in one. But again, and everything in moderation. I clearly had no understanding of moderation back in the day when I played World of Warcraft. These days, I don't have as much time for video games. As much time as I would like to. I find sometimes it can be tricky to find time to spend 30 minutes to 1 hour to record a single video. So my actual game time, the actual game time I spend playing games per day can range from 0 minutes to, let's say, 1 to 2 hours. Depending on the day. Let's say a week it's going to be about 5 to 7 hours. Which, if I'm playing like 4 different single-player games, it doesn't really leave much time for MMOs. One day I'd like to go back to World of Warcraft, but what really catches my interest is Final Fantasy XIV, and the reason why is because it has a much more in-depth storyline. It has a much more connected storyline that you follow across throughout the entire game, rather than have just different isolated storylines in different areas. Also, because of all the World of Warcraft's different expansions, I feel as though Blizzard treats the base game of World of Warcraft as a leveling area. Like, they're not really concerned about people experiencing everything on Azeroth. They're not worried about everybody experiencing the story in the Eastern Kingdoms, in Kalimdor. They want, like, it's all about leveling up as fast as you can to get to the current story as fast as you can. Whereas with Final Fantasy XIV, every time you create this new character, you're always going through the same new motions, which could be considered problematic, except for the fact that your character can multi-class. Which is something that World of Warcraft characters cannot. So you don't have to worry about making a new character in order to become a new class. You can just sign up for the other class by picking up the weapon and heading out into battle. But first, let us make a new character. Yes, we shall. Now, when it comes to character creation, I feel like I'm like at 3 minds for this. Either, like, I feel as though there are several different methods of creating, well, obviously there's several different methods of creating character. You can make a character who looks like you, who looks like an idealized version of you, fantasy character, tough-looking character, adorable character, and Final Fantasy definitely has its options. From the High-Or, who looks like your regular humans. You got the Elezen, which would be your elves. The adorable Lalafels. the cat people. They're basically just cat people. Just get your furry action there. The Rogadins, who I've got to say, I really like these even though they're basically just super tall, buff humans, like they're still interesting. The Aura, a little bit too horny for my tastes. The Hrothgar, which I guess was introduced in Shadowbringers, which basically looks like more muscular cat person. Like, you got the Mikote, as your more demure cat people, and then you got Muscles. And then you've got the bunnies from Final Fantasy XII. Let's take a look. What do we got? The Hayur are said to have first traveled to Eorzea from her surrounding continents and islands. 3 great migratory waves later, they are now the most populous of all the civilized races. They exhibit a relatively modest physique, both in height and build, and are known for their peculiarly short, rounded ears. Hayurs are well suited for traveling long distances by foot, a trait thought to account for their swift proliferation. Their espousal of an eclectic variety of languages and traditions is a legacy of their diverse heritage, as is their resulting lack of unified cultural identity. I mean, look at those ridiculous rounded ears! Although, considering the fact that you've got the Elezen, they've got the pointed ears, the Lalafell have big pointed ears, cat people have big pointed ears. They got a little bit of rounded ears going on, but more races in Final Fantasy have giant ears. So I guess that's how, like, the Hayur, like, have, like, are known for their weirdly short ears. In former times, the Elezen were the sole inhabitants of Eorzea, claiming dominion over her. Traditionally a nomadic people, the tall, slender Elezen believed the realm to be theirs by divine right. Unfortunately, this belief made the eventual appearance of the Hayur in their multitudes akin to an invasion, and a long history of conflict ensued. Will any of this actually show up in the story? Probably not. Ultimately, the Elezen diverged into the 2 clans that exist today. The Wildwood Elezen took to the forest to protect their homeland, while the Duskwood... while the Dusk-White Elezen withdrew to caves and subterranean, opting instead to avoid all contact with any but their own. I can totally read English, I swear. A wee people sporting short, rotund bodies. I have a... like, the Italian... a wee people. It's hard to read that without tossing in the additional accent. The Lalafell appear as no more than children to the eyes of most. Many of these nimble little folk hail from the islands of the South Seas, where they practice a simple agricultural lifestyle. It was not until the opening of maritime trade routes that the gradual migration of Lalafells to Eorzea began. Now one of the most well-established races of the realm, Lalafells can be found in great numbers in nearly every city, though Lalafellan culture places great emphasis on blood relations. Individuals are known for getting along amicably with members of all races. I don't intend to make tiny cute character, so let's move on. I also don't intend to make a cat character. Part of me wonders what, like, I tend to make characters that either look like Commander Shepard. Yeah, that's basically most of the characters I make. In any game that offers a character creator. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, I've been making the same character over and over again. I should probably try to do something different. And that's when the Lalafell, the Mikote, jumps in. But, I'll take a pass this time. The ancestors of the Mikote made their way to Eorzea during the Age of Endless Frost, traversing the frozen seas in pursuit of the wildlife upon which they subsisted. Adaptation to a hunting lifestyle has fashioned them with a keen sense of smell. Powerful legs. These are powerful legs. and a tail which provides them with exceptional balance. Mikote are known to be very territorial, and many individuals tend to lead solitary lifestyles, particularly males. Although, regardless of whatever character you make, you're probably going to be relatively solitary, unless you join a guild of some kind. Known for their brawny builds and piercing eyes, the Roegadyn are the largest and most rugged of Eorzea's races. The majority of the realm's Roegadyn belong to the Sealwolf clan, a maritime people who earn their keep on or by the sea, be it as sailors, fishermen, or pirates. Comparatively fewer in number are the Hellsguard, who are known for their more earnest demeanors, and can often be found working as bodyguards and smithies. I have no intention of making like a Aura character. They both kind of look dumb to me. Like, this one kind of looks almost fish-esque. And then this one, I don't know what they look like. The curved horns and beautifully patterned scales that characterize the Aura often give rise to speculation that members of this higher-like race, native to the far eastern continent of Othard, are in fact the progeny of dragons. This, however, has long been disputed, with scholars citing several distinct differences in the two races as evidence of decidedly dissimilar roots. The first and foremost being the enhanced hearing and spatial recognition granted by an Aura's cranial projections, traits not attributed to draconian horns, and the second being the gross disproportion in mass between Auri females and males, again a trait widely unseen in dragons. See, I screwed up, but I saved myself. And then we have the Hrothgar, hailing from the distant shore. Also, the Hrothgar are only available in one gender. Same goes with the Viera, are also only available in one gender. Hailing from the distant shores of Ilsabard, the Hrothgar are a burly people of lion-like appearance, or the males are at least. Females number staggeringly few among their population, and thus are rarely so much as glimpsed by the other races. The Hrothgar's imposing countenance, mitigated not at all by their sharp claws and still sharper fangs, incited panic amongst Eorzeans upon their arrival. As they were also unable to communicate, initial interactions with the common folk often escalated into conflict. It was not until the Hrothgar gained mastery of the common tongue that fears were allayed, and in time they would be as neighbors, welcome in all corners of the realm. And then we have the Viera, of tall stature and slender frame. The Viera's physical appearance is strikingly similar to that of the Hyor and Elezen, save for their distinctively long ears. Adhering to the strict code known as the Green Word, they are prohibited from contact with the outside world under threat of exile. Oh, interesting. Their society is purely matriarchal, and males of age are seldom, if ever, found within the bounds of any village. They instead serve as protectors of the wood from the shadows, that no evil may ever encroach on their sacred lands. Alright, so I will make a... I know, and also let's change the environment. This is a little bit of a neat feature, so I can actually see shadows. A Midlander and a Highlander. Highlanders live in the mountains. They're a rare sight. Midlanders are in the city. They're trained in letters from infancy. The Midlanders are generally more educated than many of the other races and clans, despite the fact that males tend to be slightly taller than females. There are no significant differences between the genders. Let's make a Midlander. Why not? Now we've got the character creator. On one hand, it's more robust than World of Warcraft, but I feel as though there's a certain amount of safety. There's a safety net to Final Fantasy XIV's character creator. And that is the idea that you can't make a horrible nightmare person. Which is, it's fine. Like, you look at a lot of, like, there's other character creators, like, in Saints Row games, you could really make a horrible nightmare person. if you tried. In From Software games, especially Demon's Souls, like, most characters tend to look terrible anyway, so I usually never bother. Most creative characters tend to look pretty awful, or they just become zombified or covered up by clothing in the game itself, so it's like, why even bother worry about that? Fallout characters can easily become horrible nightmares. But this, like, look at this height scaling. I can be between 5 foot 2 inches tall or 5 feet 7 inches tall. Not that much of a difference. It keeps heights amongst, like, average for most humans. I can change the angle in which I'm looking. Let's go maximum height, 5 foot 7. Muscle tone. It's hard to necessarily see muscle tone on a regular basis. Like, just looking at this angle, like, it's just shading almost. Like, the difference between smooth and chiseled looks like you got a stronger collarbone. I'm going to say, like, I plan to make a mage character, like a healer character. But I'm pretty sure this adventurer has traveled and thusly is very chiseled. Bust size. Truly, like the storyline, you got more plot or less plot. Skin color. We got a little bit more variety here. Let's, like, we don't want, like, super pale, but then... There we go. Got more hairstyles all set up. Now, does the hairstyle say anything necessarily about the character? Or do we want a hairstyle that's closer to... oh, geez. That's not a good choice. Oof. I'm definitely not going to be spending hours upon hours surveying Eorzea with that hairstyle. That would be madness. How does that look? I'm not a big fan of this one, especially because it's like, it looks as though the ponytail is just kind of like just jutting out in the back. A little bit too, like, this is a little bit too, like, 1970s. I want to say there are a few actual Final Fantasy characters with that hairstyle. We got lightning, I think, with this one. Now, I believe you can change this in-game, so it's not exactly like I need to worry about this being a permanent decision. Although, I remember back in the day, World of Warcraft didn't have a barber option. So whatever hairstyle you chose, it was that permanent option. So you picked a hairstyle and you were stuck with it for the rest of the game. I'm not sure what that is. But let us choose something. This looks like a Fallout hairstyle. Very classic. Ready to travel the post-apocalypse in a 1950s spirit with that one. Alright, this is good enough. Let us move on. There we go. Hair color. You know, like I said, I mostly tend to pick Commander Shepard. So let's pick somebody who's different from Commander Shepard. Let's go black on black. Like, we don't need to go in the... how about... Is that kind of silvery, or is that kind of... That's a little bit more interesting. Okay. Highlights? Yeah, some highlights. The differences are very subtle. Or should the white be the highlight? Ah! Alright. Wait. Hold on. There. So it's a little bit of Anna from Frozen. Got different faces. And there's only so many choices to pick from. Like, you don't need to worry about contorting mouths or chins at this level. And that's the usual start of... Once you start contorting... Like, I usually don't even bother with that because I'm like, alright, let's not even mess with it. I'm probably not going to be looking at this character's jawline for the rest of the game. Alright, I can't even see what I'm changing there. Oh, iris size, large. Small. Okay. I feel as though this is just being very slow in regards to loading some of these changes. Eye color, something bright. Yeah, that's good. We don't need to worry about having different color eyes. Ah, there we go. Okay. So sad. So evil. Sad. Evil. Got a nose. Like, this is why, one of the reasons why I try not to spend too much time with character creators is just because, like how much of, like, even though your character is going to be in all the cutscenes, like, how much of this is really going to be that noticeable? Lip color. It's fine. Facial features. Ooh, extra eyebrow. I do appreciate the extra eyebrow. What does that do? Eyeshadow, sure, why not? A scar on her nose? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the face tattoos. Like, in any game, I generally tend to avoid using face tattoos. So no tattoo color, no face paint color. Oh, no, not that one. Yep, that's the one. And now, what are we gonna name ourselves? Sure, why not? Let us enter our birthday. Alright, what patron deity? I don't know how important this is in regards to the actual development of your character. Like, you get... Like, of all the time I've spent playing with this game, I don't remember this actually coming up to do anything. Cologne, mover of glaciers and goddess of war. Menfina, keeper of the moon, goddess of love. Thaliak, ruler of rivers of wisdom and god of knowledge. Nimia is the watcher of celestial bodies and goddess of fate. And thusly she's often seen as a weaver with a spinning wheel. Limlian, watcher of the seas and goddess of navigation. Oskion, ruler of the mountains and god of travelers. By the way, you can't actually be an atheist. You have to have some sort of patron deity. Although I suppose in a world where gods are known to exist, it wouldn't really make sense to be an atheist. Byrgot is the purveyor of architecture and industry, and god of arts. Ralger, breaker of worlds, god of destruction. Azima, the keeper of sun and goddess of inquiry. Naldith, overseer of the underworld and god of commerce, is the deity of Ul'dah. Nofika, tender of soils and harvests, goddess of abundance. And Althik, surveyor of change and space. I will go with the sun god. Commands the element of fire and is associated with the 9th moon of the Eorzean calendar. Azema is the daughter of Althik and the elder sister of Menfina. She's most often depicted as a noble lady holding a golden fan. Her symbol is the radiant sun. And I will make a disciple of magic to start off with, because I tend to choose healer characters. I've always kind of chosen healer characters because they have the easiest times, one of the easiest times to get into parties. Every party needs one. Conjurers call upon elemental forces present in nature and concentrates them to a potency at which spells can be woven. A wand or cane made from unworked wood is then utilized to focus the ether until it manifests as the desired spell. And the seat of the Conjurer's Guild lies in Gridania, which is going to be my starting town. I have selected no such place. I will select another. And I shall name myself, let's say, as something similar to my own interests. Let's say Nella Vass Normandy. No, I think it has to be 2 words. Nella Levy. In comparison to my own username. But that's all the time we have today. Maybe next time I will finally be able to explore Eorzea.
Thank you for watching. Questions, comments, recommendations for something to play next? Comment down below or send it on over to itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. That's itsoundedgoodonpaper@gmail.com. So long for now.